Mr. President, I rise today to oppose the nomination of Judge Amul Thapar to serve as a judge on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, it should surprise absolutely no one that Judge Thapar is the second nominee to a federal court to come up for a vote in this Congress. His nomination comes on the heels of the nomination of now Justice Neil Gorsuch, an ultra-conservative who could not earn enough support to be confirmed under the Senate's normal rules. A judge so radical, so controversial, that Senate Republicans had to change the Senate rules and lower the vote threshold to force his nomination through the Senate. And now the Senate is poised to vote on a judge cut from the same cloth. Like Justice Gorsuch, Judge Thapar made the list of 21 acceptable judges that far-right groups drew up and handed to President Trump. Judges who would tilt the scales of justice in favor of the rich and the powerful. And, as in Justice Gorsuch's case, those radical groups are committed to doing whatever it takes to make sure that Judge Thapar sits on the nation's highest courts. For those groups, the goal is not just to get a few ultra-conservative judges on our federal courts. It is to capture the entire judicial branch. For years, billionaire-funded right-wing groups have worked hand in hand with Republicans to ensure that our courts advance the interests of the wealthy and powerful over the rights of everyone else. They abused the filibuster to stop fair, mainstream judges from filling vacancies on federal courts. They slowed the judicial nominations process to a crawl, and they threw the Constitution and Senate precedent out the window by refusing to consider President Obama's Supreme Court nominee. Under their watch, judicial vacancies stacked up and courts became overloaded with cases. Now Republicans and their extremist friends have a president who shares their concern about the interests of the 1%, and they are ready to stack our federal courts with judges who will advance their radical agenda. Judge Thapar is much more than up to the task. Now, there are many reasons to oppose Judge Thapar's nomination to the Sixth Circuit, from his decisions making it harder for working Americans to get access to the judicial system, to his support for sentencing policies that don't make us safer, but that exacerbate the problem of mass incarceration. Yeah, there is a lot to object to. But I want to highlight one area that should concern every person who thinks that government should work for all of us, and that's Judge Thapar's stance on money in politics. For decades, our laws restricted the amount of money that individuals and corporations could pour into the political process. In recent years, federal courts chipped away at those laws, and then the Supreme Court decisions in cases like McCutcheon and Citizens United took a sledgehammer to campaign finance laws, unleashing a flood of dark money into the political system. There are now dozens of perfectly legal ways for the 1% to buy influence and favor. Corporate campaign contributions, super PACs, the revolving door between government and the private sector, bought and paid for experts to push alternative facts, armies of lobbyists swarming the halls of Congress. And their investments, boy, they have paid off in the form of special breaks, exemptions, deals, riders, subsidies, loopholes, and every other handout that industry can imagine. That money, that unaccountable, dark, unlimited money, has fundamentally distorted our democracy. Judge Thapar would make the problem worse. Judge Thapar believes that actual speech and monetary contributions are basically the same thing. When he had to decide on the constitutionality of a Kentucky rule preventing state judges and judicial candidates from donating to political groups or campaigns, he concluded that the rule was unconstitutional. In his decision, Judge Thapar said, and I quote here, "There is simply no difference between saying that one supports an organization by using words and saying that one supports an organization by donating money." No difference between talking about a candidate and dumping a bucket of money into the candidate's campaign. Wow. In Judge Thapar's view, the Constitution should protect a billionaire's right to dump unlimited sums of money into the political process to influence the outcome of elections. That's even further than the Supreme Court has gone. As the Sixth Circuit reminded Judge Thapar when it reversed his decision on donations, even the Supreme Court has refused to treat monetary donations as equivalent to direct speech. The issue of concentrated money in our political system is one that doesn't split down party lines. Americans of all political views cringe at the massive amounts of secret money that slither through our political process. They've seen politicians beholden to the handful of deep-pocketed individuals and giant corporations, and they have seen those politicians turn their backs on the constituents that they were elected to represent. That is at the heart of what's wrong in our nation. Our government should work for everyone, not just for the millionaires and billionaires. Fighting for a government that's accountable to the people means fighting to reduce the influence of concentrated money and concentrated power in our political system. It is time to take down the sign that says government for sale that hangs above Washington, D.C. And we can start today by rejecting Judge Thapar's nomination to serve on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Thank you, Mr. President.